You are about to hear The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality by Cheikh Anta Diop, narrated by Frank Block. Copyright 2018, BN Publishing online at bnpublishing.com. Chapter 1. What were the Egyptians? In contemporary descriptions of the ancient Egyptians, this question is never raised. Eyewitnesses of that period formally affirm that the Egyptians were blacks. On several occasions, Herodotus insists on the Negro character of the Egyptians and even uses this for indirect demonstrations. For example, to prove that the flooding of the Nile cannot be caused by melting snow, he cites, among other reasons he deems valid, the following observation. It is certain that the natives of the country are black with the heat. To demonstrate that the Greek oracle is of Egyptian origin, Herodotus advances another argument. Lastly, by calling the dove black, they, the Dodonians, indicated that the woman was Egyptian. The doves in question symbolize two Egyptian women, allegedly kidnapped from Thebes to found the oracles of Dodona and Libya. To show that the inhabitants of Colchis were of Egyptian origin and had to be considered a part of Sesostris' army who had settled in that region, Herodotus says, the Egyptians said that they believed the Colchians to be descended from the army of Sesostris. My own conjectures were founded, first, on the fact that they are black-skinned and have woolly hair. Finally, concerning the population of India, Herodotus distinguishes between the Padians and other Indians, describing them as follows. They all also have the same tint of skin, which approaches that of the Ethiopians. Diodorus of Sicily writes, the Ethiopians say that the Egyptians are one of their colonies which was brought into Egypt by Osiris. They even allege that this country was originally underwater, but that the Nile, dragging much mud as it flowed from Ethiopia, had finally filled it in and made it a part of the continent. They add that from them, as from authors and ancestors, the Egyptians get most of their laws. It is from them that the Egyptians have learned to honor kings as gods, and bury them with such pomp. Sculpture and writing were invented by the Ethiopians. The Ethiopians cite evidence that they are more ancient than the Egyptians, but it is useless to report that here. If the Egyptians and Ethiopians were not of the same race, Diodorus would have emphasized the impossibility of considering the former as a colony, i.e. fraction of the latter, and the impossibility of viewing them as forebears of the Egyptians. In his Geography, Strabo mentioned the importance of migration in history, and believing that this particular migration had proceeded from Egypt to Ethiopia, remarks, Egyptians settled Ethiopia and Colchis. Once again, it is a Greek, despite his chauvinism, who informs us that the Egyptians, Ethiopians, and Colchians belong to the same race, thereby confirming what Herodotus had said about the Colchians. The opinion of all the ancient writers on the Egyptian race is more or less summed up by Gaston Maspero, 1846 to 1916. By the almost unanimous testimony of ancient historians, they belonged to an African race. Read Negro, which first settled in Ethiopia on the Middle Nile. Following the course of the river, they gradually reached the sea. Moreover, the Bible states that Mesriam, son of Ham, brother of Chus, Cush, the Ethiopian, and of Canaan, came from Mesopotamia to settle with his children on the banks of the Nile. According to the Bible, Egypt was peopled by the offspring of Ham, ancestor of the blacks. The descendants of Ham are Chus, Mesriam, Phut, and Canaan. The descendants of Chus are Seba, Havilah, Sabbatha, Rugma, and Sabbathacha. Chus was the father of Nimrod. He was the first to be conqueror on the earth. Mesriam became the father of Ludim, Anamim, Labim, Nachuhim, Bethrushim, Chastusim. Canaan became the father of Sid, his firstborn, and Heth. For the peoples of the Near East, Mesriam still designates Egypt, Canaan the entire coast of Palestine and Phoenicia,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?